Hello coders, welcome to episode 199 of the How to Code Well podcast. This is probably like the fifth time I've tried to record this because of the dogs. So if you see my door open and Goose run in as he's been doing and barking, then I do apologize. Today we're going to be talking about the web development industry, and we're going to be talking about the job market. Because right now, the job market is a bit funky, especially with the contractors. And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, luckily, I have been in work for a while, and so I have perhaps been shielded from the industry as it stands. Also, before I start this talk, I need to take into consideration, and I think everyone else should, that the job market is always a bit funky around this time. We are getting into the Christmas break. There is a downtime period. So hiring around this time is a bit weird anyway. My advice for contractors is that you get a contract that spans across this weird period. Now, I know that's usually out of your control, but if you can, that's great. Because usually around sort of end of January, February, March, April, the job market usually gets much better. And that happens every year. So you have to take into consideration the time of the year. But I have been told that the job market has been a bit weird for a while now. And I have obviously been shielded by that. Now, I've had all sorts of conversations with all sorts of people recently, both recruitment agents, obviously end clients. I've had interviews, I've done technical tests, done all sorts of stuff. I've been out of work for about a month. So I've applied to huge amounts of jobs. Well, not huge amounts of jobs. I've applied to all the jobs that are available. And I've been seeing some oddness and some weirdness myself, because I can see this now in real time. I can see the state of the job market. So we're going to talk about that, but before we do, I'm going to put a lot of caveats in this talk. Before I get into the job specs and the weirdness and what I've been seeing and the conversations that I've had, it's different for different industries and it's different for different programming languages and frameworks. So if you know a particular framework, that might be doing quite well right now. If you are working on a particular programming language, that might be doing quite well right now. However, in the space that I'm seeing, I'm a full stack dev. I do PHP, I do JavaScript. I work on Symfony, Drupal, trying not to make this into a bit of a job advert for me, but I've done a whole manner of things in terms of the web dev space. And I am in real time seeing the job market in a weird state as it is. So, what have I seen? Well, I've seen job specs that don't exist. That sounds weird, right? So I've seen jobs, specifications of jobs. I've applied for jobs that don't exist. So people have called me up, recruitment agents have called me up. They've told me, hey, this job is now unavailable, or I've seen the role just suddenly go on and go off, right? And I've also seen this role word for word on other job boards that suddenly go, but on the other job boards, they're still active. Now, obviously, this could be a weird sort of miscommunication across the job boards, but I've also applied for jobs where people have told me that the job never existed in the first place. Why are there jobs that are out there that don't exist? Well, it's because you're applying for a job. You put in your CV, you put in your cover letter, you're now on the database. You get called by a recruitment agent, they now have you. Which, in the circumstance that it is right now, that's not really a bad issue. It's just a little bit of an underhanded tactic. It's just a bit of an underhanded tactic. And so I've had all sorts of these conversations with people, and you can just sort of read between the lines, or they just tell you that the job that you've applied for just doesn't exist. So yeah, I just find it a little bit sucky, and it kind of makes you very wary of the conversation that you're having, but you're on the database, so if anything comes up, then they have your direct number, and they've spoken to you, and they know exactly what your experiences are and what you're after and all of that stuff. So they've kind of done all of that preemptive work. So when a job does arrive, they can go, yes, I've spoken to this guy, and he's got these set of experiences in this technology, and So I can kind of see why they've done it, but anyway. Enough of that. I've also seen job specs where the specification is incredibly broad, like moon on the stick kind of broad. Like, I want all the things from a developer for not enough. So I've seen that before. I've been a contractor for a long time. I've been a developer for over 20 years, and I've been a contractor for a big portion of that. And I've seen the job market expand and contract and change shape and all sorts of things. I've seen weirdness with job specs before. This isn't unusual. That's what I'm trying to say. Around the pandemic, it was pretty ropey. It was probably more ropey then than it is now for the particular roles that I'm looking for, at least. And I have to caveat with this with, it might be fantastic for you. That's great. You do you. In my world, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird. And if it's a bit weird for you, then I hope that you hear this and you're like, oh, well, it's the same. I'm in the same boat, and therefore, I have company here, and that's not bad. It's not just me. I guess one point that I would like you to take home is that it's not just you, okay? It's not just you. So I'm seeing all sorts of devs that I really highly respect. They're incredibly talented devs, and they're still looking for work. Again, weird time of year, but still, right now it's a bit weird, especially when you've got fake job specs, when you've got job specs that are incredibly broad. And also, I've been told that developers are now slashing their daily rates to, in my opinion, an obscene amount just to get to the top of the shortlist pile, right? Now, in regards to that, I think we get paid an awful lot anyway, which is great, but I think one has to stick to their guns. As a business owner, you know your expenses and your outgoings, right? So you know what you need to make in order to make a profit, and you also know the value of your work. So I am sticking to my guns in terms of the daily rate. Yes, I have reduced it, but not to the degree that I've heard, which is pretty scary. And I myself see that as a disadvantage to other developers as well, because if you're reducing your daily rate to a scary amount, that is then going to become the norm across the board, and that means the daily rates of all the jobs are just going to come down, and the spec is going to get broader and broader and broader. So you're not actually helping the industry by doing that, and you can hear the dogs bark. Bear with me a minute, I will be back. Apologies about that. Having two English Springer Spaniels that are rather vocal is proving a little bit challenging this morning. But I was talking about the job market in the web development industry, and I want to do so now in a more of a positive spin, because I believe that things will pick up. I believe that we'll see a surge of jobs on the market. I believe that people's day rates are going to go back up, and I don't see this as a long-term problem. Now, you're going to hear some fear-mongering from people. This is the time when the crazies come out. They'll put labels on it like artificial intelligence is taking your jobs or other ludicrous things. But no, I honestly, I believe that things are going to get better, as they always do around the following year. So I'm not overly concerned. What I would ask, though, is if anybody has noticed this themselves, or if you think that what I've said is perhaps over-dramatizing the problem, then do let me know what your opinions are on this space. And please, if you are in the same boat as I am, and you are looking for work, then do know that we are together and that things will get better. So it's not just you. I can understand how people can go, oh, I've had these amounts of interviews and I've done these technical tests and I've passed, but I'm still not getting work. It must be a problem with me. That's not the case. It's the case that there is just a lot of candidates out there, and some are going to be better at certain things than you are. That's just the way it works. In some cases, at some time there'll be more candidates than there are jobs, and in some times there'll be more jobs than there are candidates. And it really depends on when that is to what kind of job you get. So it's not you. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not you. Please don't see it as the worthiness rating of you as a developer. Okay, so a side note, I've got some downtime now. So what am I doing with that? I'm actually writing a book. And I'm actually writing a book on actually getting into the industry, ironically. I haven't got a title for it yet, but please do check out the tweets or the videos that I will put out around this. I'm also working on courses, and I'm also coming up with source code for those courses that I'm making available to Patreons. I've also signed up to the Buy Me a Coffee. I've got a page on there as well. So if you want to support the show, anything I do, then please do check out the links in the show notes below. And I say I'm writing a book. This might just end up on the technical pile of side project shame that I've got. That seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I blame that on whenever I get downtime, I have these crazy ideas that I build courses and I write books, but then suddenly I get busy, so it gets put on the pile of shame. And then when I get downtime again, instead of picking up the stuff that I should be working on, I then have other crazy ideas and work on other side projects. But I'm hoping that this book about how to get into the web development industry will actually see the light of day, so I'll keep you up to date with that. Anyway, dogs are barking again. I need to go and I'm going to grab my lunch, I think, and make myself a coffee. Happy coding, everyone. Lots of love. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.